Welcome to the Fantasy Football League podcast. I'm your host, Aiden, and today I'm joined by the last place team, Totally Offensive, also known as Desperate for a Win, also known as Patty the Unlucky. So how are you doing today?
I'm very close to being in first place for the Toilet Bowl award at the end of the season.
I mean, to be fair, you do have the fifth most points in the league, so I think it's probably unlikely you'll actually lose the toilet bowl because you'll have to once being in last place doesn't necessarily mean you get the toilet bowl, so
this isn't fair because I winning the toilet bowl because I want to win something.
I mean, I would consider it losing to get the toilet bowl, especially this is why we need a punishment for all of you as well. Because we have a punishment for us, so maybe if you win, if you get last place and get the toilet bowl, maybe you have a punishment as well.
Well, aren't we supposed to have a punishment if we win lose?
Yeah, exactly. So I guess we can get into the episode, and this podcast covers the coveted Fantasy Football League, our fantasy football league with 10 of our friends, as we go through the year and ultimately find out who is worthy of the crown. We will have trials and tribulations that will all be covered here, so strap in and spread those eyeballs because you're about to witness the best fantasy football coverage you've ever seen. Today, we're going to cover everything that happened in Week 6 within the league and preview the matchups for next week. So are you ready to get into the first matchup?
We are ready.
All right. Well, I guess since you are the guest, and I typically go with the guest matchup first, we'll start with last week, Team Totally Offensive versus Danbledore. And yeah, this was a tragic loss for you. We'll say that. How did you feel with this loss overall?
Resigned. But then now I'm back to being hopeful that I'll win, for the rest of the season, for the rest of the games, I'll start winning because something's going to turn around for me.
Yep.
Yeah.
I believe it. I mean, I know this one stung because Dan was in last place.
Exactly.
And
both 1 win and 5 losses. And we were the only 2 left that only had 1 win and 5 losses, I think.
Or 4 losses, yeah. You were both 1 and 4.
Sorry, 1 win and 5 losses, didn't we have? Because now it's...
Well, now you wait.
Now
I thought now you're 1 and 5, and he's 2 and 4.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah.
I already... skipped the week because I think I was going to lose. I'm talking about this week now.
we love all the goofs and gaffes here, and last week was pretty brutal because Kyler Murray still hasn't been doing anything. Jerome Ford got hurt, and those were the 2 big bad performances on your team.
Mm-hmm.
And then on Monday, you still had a chance. It was a pretty slim chance, but he had Josh Allen and Keon Coleman.
Right.
And essentially, I think he needed 17 points or something.
Right.
And it didn't work out, essentially. So,
no.
Yep. Unfortunate. It was kind of unfortunate timing because the Jets fired their head coach and he was the defense side of things, so there's a chance that if they didn't fire him, maybe the Bills would have done worse this week, and maybe you would have won. So it's a snowball effect.
Yeah.
But what can you do?
Sometimes that just happens, and I still have hope for my players. I still feel like Kyler Murray's got it in him to have some better games. And I also believe that kind of because, Trey McBride actually played pretty well last week.
Mm-hmm.
And they're on the same team. So someone's doing something right.
Well, the main wide receiver did get hurt in the game, too. So that definitely did help him.
Oh well, I'm preferring just to think it's camaraderie between the two, and he's going to help Kyler Murray get better.
It could be. I mean, he has been playing well the whole year, really. So
yeah, he has.
Yeah, I mean that's definitely exciting. He's only had like one bad game, I would say, but definitely an exciting player to have. And then on your bench, you have Kareem Hunt coming back, and possibly Cooper Kupp. So who knows?
Kareem Hunt is scheduled to be back.
Oh yeah, I mean from bye is what I meant to say.
Oh yeah. I'm sorry. And who else did you say?
Cooper Kupp, who might be coming back from injury. So
yeah, I am hoping that he'll come back because I would like to put him in if I can.
Yeah.
But they still keep saying he's questionable, so it's down to game time, which is frustrating because I'm going to be working on Sunday.
Oh, so yeah, you're going to
have to... and Cooper Kupp's not till 1 o'clock. I forgot about that.
Yeah, might not. You might have to figure that out in the morning then, but we'll see. I guess we can talk more about that later, but... anything else you want to say about Dan's team? His team kind of did go absolutely nuclear this week with Joe Mixon coming back and George Kittle having a really good game. So,
yeah.
Anything you want to say about that?
Just that I was happy for him to have done that, but not for me. So we'll actually just see what happens this week. So it's hard sometimes playing a good friend because you kind of want to root for them too, but it's not that bad because I'm pretty competitive. So.
Yeah, it's that I get that from you, so.
yeah, it's clear, very clear.
And that's why it felt so good this past week to finally get another win. Mm-hmm. So we can go into my matchup where I beat Pawn 133 to 88. So I destroyed him this last week. Finally, Bijan Robinson had a good game, a better game than Brian Robinson, who was out. And I did play Tyrone Tracy. I think that was a good start. I played him over Rome Odunze. That was the questionable choice that I had to make, and I was really happy I did that. So overall, I think I made some good decisions. I am still a little mad at Brandon Ayuk not getting more targets, but I can't really do anything about that. And also, I'm a little worried about Dalton Kincaid now. But I think overall, I'm definitely excited about my team. It's doing a lot better. So yeah, I got some bright spots to look forward to.
Well, good for you.
Sorry to rub it in.
Yeah, it sounds like you got the sarcasm there. I see.
But yeah, Pawn does have neighbors coming back this week, and had some people on bye last week, so should have a better week this next week. Yeah, I mean, not too much to say. His team did underperform, so I think better days are coming in the future for him. So, yeah, not too much to say about his team. Any thoughts that you have on either of our teams?
No, it's striking how many people are 2 and 4.
Yeah, that's a good point.
It's actually pretty even, but yeah. Because you can't, if you have 2 and 4, you can only have 4 of them. Then you have 4 and 2, and yeah.
Yeah, and there's the 2 5-1 teams, so that kind of makes up for it.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a good point. There are a lot of 2 and 4 teams, 4 2 and 4 teams. The most of any record in the league.
5-1 teams played each other?
Have the 5-1 teams played each other?
Yeah.
I don't think so. I could be wrong.
I wonder when they're going to.
Yeah, not sure. That would be a good matchup though. Because I mean, they've both of their teams have faced off against some of the tougher teams. Like Rage Against Weirdos still has the most points in the league, but does have the 2 losses. I think wasn't that your 1 win was against the highest scoring team?
I remember. It was such a fleeting experience that
that you forgot.
Have kind of overshadowed that 1 meager win.
Well, I do think brighter days are ahead for you. And I mean, just another win in another matchup for JennWeng, who played MMC Grath again. I don't know about again, but they did play MMC Grath. And I didn't even notice that MMC Grath did not play a second running back. Am I seeing that right? I think that must have been a mistake.
Oops.
Yeah. I'm not sure how that happened. But yeah, they didn't play a second running back. Definitely, I'm sure, a mistake. They must have subbed someone out and planned to pick someone up and forgot. But yeah, JennWeng won by 15 points. So if they had a good running back, I mean, yeah, 123 is definitely good. It's above her average slightly. So definitely a good week. And you saw Deebo Samuel had a good game.
Yes. Yeah, because he's on. Is he on our other team?
Yes, on our best ball. Yeah. And then AJ Brown also came back. So she had Deebo and AJ Brown come back into her lineup. I think Deebo might have played last week but didn't do anything. So this week, Deebo and AJ Brown had good games. Jalen Hurts had a good game off the bye. So yeah, just her stars came back and had a good game. So just a solid performance. Kind of, I think it's been the team that I've been the most scared of because she's dealt with injuries and she's still got wins. So she's definitely going to be near the top.
And it happens to be who you're playing this week, correct?
Yes. So I've been scared of her the whole year, and now I'm going to be playing her this week. So we'll talk more about that later, but I'm definitely scared of that matchup.
Yeah.
MMC Grath actually had a really good week. I think the running backs obviously didn't perform well because he only played 1 running back. But
a little bit of a problem, yeah.
Yeah, it might be a little bit of a problem. But overall, I think his team did pretty well. I've been pretty critical of his bench, and he finally did drop he had 4 tight ends, and he finally dropped the other 3. So I think that's a good sign. Do that.
Well, it might be. I just I met with someone today who is in another league, and in their league they have a defensive team and they have a kicker like we used to in one of our leagues, and also have a really large bench. I was surprised, and I'm thinking, how can you do that with? I guess maybe they don't have that many teams in their league, but.
Yeah, I mean, I have a large bench in one of my other leagues, and it's just a lot more. You have to pay attention to the backups a lot more, and it definitely gets tricky. But I do think it's just a different strategy. And I think in our league specifically, part of the at least fun for me has been it is more challenging to manage the roster when you don't have a big bench because you have to really strategize who is on your limited bench.
It's like this week. Well, we'll come to that in a little bit. Anyway, so who's next?
Yeah, next up is Brookezylaphone versus Naples. And yeah, Brooke killed it this last week. Most points in the league. Barely beating me out, but she did beat me out. And yeah, just a good week. I think Khalil Shakir didn't do great and probably will go down. So there's definitely some concern about her bench with Khalil Shakir kind of he's going to get overshadowed by Amari Cooper moving forward likely. And then Ladd McConkey hasn't been fantastic. So she did make some roster moves that we'll talk about later. But Naples did have a good week as well, which was unfortunate that some of the players had a really good week and some of them just had bad weeks. So that really stinks. I don't know if you see Calvin Ridley's stat line, but he had 0 catches on 8 targets.
Oh my god.
And you can blame the quarterback. There was, I think, 1 target that was catchable.
Wow.
Yeah, it was really bad. So, really stinks to have like some of your players have really good weeks and then the rest just did really bad. But he does have, like you said, Nick Chubb coming back.
Mm-hmm.
So that's going to be a boost, hopefully. I mean, we'll see how much he plays right away. I'm sure you're hoping that he doesn't play right away.
Yeah, I'm torn.
Yeah, I don't think you're torn at all.
Yeah, I guess I use sarcasm or feeling wishy-washy about that because you know me too well.
But yeah, I think that was an exciting matchup, but it was kind of a blowout just because Brooks' team did do so well. Mm-hmm. I guess we can move on to the next matchup though if you want to, and that is KMoneyTheRich versus RickNolle, and this was a closer matchup for sure. Not the closest, but it definitely was wild that K-Money won with 2 players that had negative points in his lineup.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's very impressive. But RickNolle had 0 and Marvin Harrison as well. So it was like the battle of who could have more points or more players with 0 or negative points in their lineup.
Oh, well, yeah, I felt bad for Rick because I was hoping that he would, he's been dealing with the hurricane and he lives in the west side of South Carolina, and he had to evacuate, and their power was out for quite a while. So I was hoping it would go well for him. But
yeah, it's pretty brutal. Thoughts are out to anyone dealing with the hurricane right now, and yeah, definitely. I mean, he's been doing really good this whole year, so
yeah.
He's 4-2 still, so he's going to be fine. K Money goes to 5-1 is in first place right now. The largest win streak in the league, just pretty crazy. I think it's 5 in a row now, which is insane.
Because K Money has more points for but also more points against.
Yeah, it's been some crazy matchups.
Oh, it's kind of between Jen and K Money. It seems like they're going to have an ongoing about that, though.
Yeah,
it can change on a dime because you have Rage and Rick both not that far behind. So
yeah, they're right there.
Mm-hmm.
And it is impressive because K-Money lost. Well, not lost. They lost their number 1 receiver, Nico Collins, but also Justin Jefferson was on bye. So Justin Jefferson's going to come back. And that's going to be crazy. I mean, this team's obviously really good, has been on fire. But it's going to be interesting to see how they do, because it seems like they're doing fine without Nico Collins. And then when Nico Collins comes back, that's going to be scary. Rick did lose Rashid Shaheed, it looks like, for the year. It looks like he's out for the year now, so that really stings. But it was a bench player, so it's not like the worst.
Oh, well.
Yeah. But yeah, that's the second to last matchup. And now we can talk about the most insane matchup that we've had this year. This was the closest matchup. It was down to the wire. It could have reversed at any point on the Monday night game because this was, as you see, less than a point in between Rage Against Weirdos and TAC 1421. And going into Monday night, Rage Against Weirdos had James Conner in their flex spot, which was actually really smart because they could have picked up a wide receiver as well, but they did choose to go with a running back. So they went with Ty Johnson, and Ty Johnson was projected to be the starter, and he was the starter. He played the first play, and he ran the first play for like 13 yards. And then Ray Davis was the starter for the rest of the game. So it was like the veteran's going to be the starter, but really we're going to have Ray Davis be the starter. So it was really close because as you see, he needed like 3 points, almost 3 points to beat TAC, and he barely got that. Ty Johnson got 4 carries for 34 yards, only 4 carries, and still managed to get the 3 points that were necessary, which is very brutal for Troy because it was definitely looking like, with how good Ray Davis was doing, how good the Bills were, it looked like he wasn't going to get the points. And obviously, it kind of, in the third quarter, I think he got the points, I think he got his 4th carry in the third quarter. But there was a chance, if Ty Johnson gets a carry and he fumbles, he could lose the points and then TAC would win. So there was that chance, and it was really a sweat the whole game. It could have ended the other way very easily. And I know this matchup definitely hurt Troy because this one would hurt anyone playing fantasy, just losing by that little,
Yeah.
Stings.
But he's still a decent. He's still 3-3. So
yeah, he's still 3-3. Rage Against Weirdos still has the most points in the league. So I think if Rage Against Weirdos was 3-3, he would probably be more frustrated. But I don't know. I think it is an interesting thing. Rage Against Weirdos might have been more frustrated because Ty Johnson should be the starter and he should have got more points than 3 points. So it's almost like a lot of things had to go wrong for this even to be this close. James Cook had to be out. On top of that, Ty Johnson had to be named the starter, but not really the starter. So it had to be both of those things because Rage Against Weirdos could have picked up a wide receiver as well. And I don't know if there was a wide receiver that would have gotten the amount of points necessary, but it was a interesting layout of the game. Just the way it happened was brutal and close, and definitely always stings to lose by this little amount of points.
Yes.
But does look like both teams doing better. I think Rage Against Weirdos' main issue right now is QB because Mahomes has not been playing that well. He's been pretty average, but not really much he can do there. He could pick up a QB off the waivers, but I think he's probably just going to play Mahomes. TAC is, I would say his main issue is running back, but he should have Taylor coming back maybe next week. It doesn't look like he's coming back this week, though. So not sure what he's going to do there. He does have Cooper, who got traded to the Bills. So I don't know I think we talked about that a little bit before the podcast, but what do you think is going to happen with Amari Cooper on the Bills now? Do you think that's going to be a good...
Hard to know because there's been such turnover, and he's been around for a while, and he's a really good player, and it's just hard to know if he's going to go right into... Do you know if he knows the way they play?
It's hard to know. Yeah, I know, for example, the other trade that happened was Devontae Adams to the Jets, and he definitely knows how they play. He already expected to be traded to the Jets. Apparently, he was in New York already before the trade was even announced.
Oh.
But Amari Cooper did not know. So
Really?
Yeah, so this was definitely a lot more of a surprise for Amari Cooper. So I think he is good enough where they could just get him in some plays, but I do agree. I don't think he's going to play the full game. So I think it's going to be interesting to see what they do with him, because they might want to like show off their new trade piece, you know? They might want to show him off, get him a touchdown early in the game, but they also might just want to only get him a few targets. So
right.
There is definitely a chance that he doesn't do anything. But yeah, I mean, overall, Tack's team has been doing a lot better. He was on a 3-game winning streak before this week, so I'm sure he'll turn it around. Rage Against Weirdos, high-scoring team so far this year, so I'm not worried about his team either. But yeah, overall, I think both these teams will be solid and competing for that playoff spot. I do think Rage Against Weirdos is probably going to be a playoff team no matter what at this point. But who knows? I mean, it's really hard to know this early in the season.
Yeah. How many games are left anyway?
I think playoffs start week 15. Yeah, playoffs start week 15.
Week 15, okay, and we're in the 7th game.
We're almost halfway. So we're almost halfway. So yeah, I mean, it could really turn around. Rage Against Weirdos team, we've seen it kind of have inconsistent weeks. So even though he's like the highest scoring team by a lot, it's not as consistent as some of the first place teams from last year. So yeah, it's definitely interesting. I'm very curious to see what's going to happen with the standings going forward, because right now Tack is in 7th place now, dropped down 1 position, but it is all up for grabs. Like I could be in the playoff hunt next week. Probably pretty unlikely because of points 4, but I could be somewhere up there. I don't think I'm going to be, but I'm probably going to lose because I'm playing JennWeng, but we can get into the matchups next week after this surprise segment. Totally Offensive's guaranteed prop bets. All right. Surprise segment. Heard that time. All right. There may have been some technical issues, but I'm gonna cut over that and pretend they didn't happen. Last week was the first week we didn't have someone go 0-3, because 2 weeks ago we had Brooke and Pawn split it. Brooke went 3-0, but Pawn went 0-3. But last week Troy was by himself and he went 2-1 because he had the Burrow over, which didn't hit, but then Jordan Mason under, which hit, and then T. Higgins over, which also hit. So yeah, I have some picks for you this week with your players, and you're gonna have to pick over or under what you think, and yeah, hopefully go 3-0, because you gotta redeem yourself. Because I don't know if you listened to the podcast the week after, but you went 0-3 the first time you made these picks, so you gotta go 3-0 now.
Yes,
right?
Understood. And I did. Okay.
All right. So the first pick is Kyler Murray over under 211 and a half passing yards.
What does that number translate to?
He has to throw 211 and a half passing yards. So he has to go over that. Or do you think he's going to throw more or less than 211?
Points is that he'd get if he threw that much?
I mean, it doesn't matter necessarily the points. It's all about the passing yards. So it's like how many yards he'll get. So even if he gets a bunch of rushing yards, that won't count for this stat. So it's not about how good his week is. It's just about how many passing yards he'll get.
Well, last week he threw for 214 yards and he lost.
Yeah.
So you want to know, what was the amount that you want to know if he goes over?
211 and a half.
say over.
Over? All
Yeah.
right. Lock it in. The next one is Kareem Hunt. Will he have more or less than 52.5 rushing yards?
Hmm.
Got to make you think.
I know, this is a... Come on, Patty. I'm trying to think. It's not coming.
Not coming?
No,
You
I
gonna
don't
flip a coin for it?
think about it, though. So, the amount of yards is... Or what did you say it was?
52.5 rushing yards for Kareem Hunt.
Okay. I think he's going to do lower.
Lower.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And then for the last one, it's Amon-Ra St. Brown, over or under 77.5 receiving yards.
Oh, he's going to go over that.
Perfect. I was going to make a joke, but I didn't even have to do that. So you got that one in quick. All right. So those are your 3 guaranteed prop bets. Put all your life savings into those.
And I hope that, the one I said is going to go under, I hope that they prove me wrong, because I'd rather have the points than
Good point.
winning this. So.
Wow. You would, all of our audience's life savings, you'd rather have them lose their life savings. Just for your fantasy. I see how it is. All right. Well,
Yeah, there you go.
I guess we can move on to this week's matchups. And we can start off with yours. So we'll go through these pretty quickly. We've already talked about teams kind of. But the first matchup is your team, Totally Offensive, versus Naples. And you're off to a good start because Naples had Jaleel McLaughlin play on Thursday and not do that great. So
No.
that's a good sign for you.
Yeah, I feel that. There is a problem. Both of us have 2 questionable players in our lineup. And everyone on my bench is either questionable or out.
Yeah, it's a little nerve-wracking. I will say too that I'm sure you heard the news, but that Anthony Richardson is probably going to start. So something. It's because you do have the Colts wide receivers. I'm curious what you're going to do with that as well. You got a lot of decisions to make.
Oh, man. So, here's the thing. I have Robinson still questionable for running back.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to put Cooper Kupp in line, but let's see. Who is it that I have besides... Oh, it's Downs and Pittman?
Yep, the Colts receivers.
And both of them are questionable.
Yeah, so it's something that you're going to have to pay attention to in the morning and see if they're playing, and then also assuming Richardson plays, what you want to do with that. But you got some tough decisions to make. And then on Naples' side, he doesn't really have a ton of tough decisions. The only one would be Calvin Ridley, if he wants to play Calvin Ridley over someone. But, yeah, not too many tough decisions. Maybe if there's injuries, like maybe if Conklin or Evans doesn't play, he might have to pick someone up. We'll see what happens with that. But it is looking good for you.
He could put Ridley in, but he's got 2 other questionables. So
yeah,
and one of them's tight end, and his other, he actually has a second tight end on his bench, but it's a bye for them.
Exactly. So it's going to be a tough choice for him on what to do. But it does look like he's starting Chubb this week, so that's going to be interesting to see what Chubb does. Chubb could have a really good game, or he could not be that involved. So it's going to be. I'm very curious what's going to happen with that.
Now I'm going to have to worry about Pittman and Downs.
Yeah. Yeah, you got some tough decisions to make for sure.
And then I had Cooper Kupp and Pierce and but Pierce is also Indianapolis Colts. I wouldn't play him in.
You do have 3 Colts receivers.
Yeah, I should probably look at that one and get rid of Pierce.
But yeah, I don't think there's too much more to say about your matchup. It's going to be an interesting one. It is looking good for you, but I think you do have some tough decisions. The next matchup we can go over is mine versus JennWeng. And this one looks incredibly close now. The projection did go a little bit towards her favor. Probably David Njoku went up in projection, but earlier in the week, I believe it was 114 to 110. So now it's exactly even, within a point even. So it's interesting that it went that close. I do like a lot of her matchups though, so I'm definitely scared on my end. But I also like some of my matchups. Like I really like the Seattle-Atlanta matchup, and I have 3 players in that. So yeah, I'm excited. I think I have some really good matchups as well, and I think it is going to be a close game. At least I'm hoping it is. I'm hoping I have a chance because I need another win. And it would be huge if I could win against the second place team after having such a bad start to the season. So
yeah, that would be really cool.
Not too much to say, though. I think Jen's team is still really good. She does have Aaron Jones possibly coming back. So if Aaron Jones does play, that would also boost her projection up even more. So really, I think she could have like a 115 projection. Yeah, not too much else to say about that, though. I think we kind of talked about all the players in that one. I guess David Njoku is the only one we didn't really talk about a ton, but I do think he's going to get more workload now that Amari Cooper's gone. And that could also be an opposite effect because I have Dalton Kincaid. And since Amari Cooper's coming in, Dalton Kincaid could get less work. So, curious about that.
To see what happens.
Yeah, definitely. Now the next matchup is MMC Grath versus Pawninq. And great start for MMC Grath with Javonte Williams on Thursday. The only player that did anything in our league on Thursday. There wasn't another player that anyone started that had a good game. So great game for him and great start. Now he's definitely projected to win. And Pawninq is definitely still figuring out stuff, has a lot of players on bye. So that's going to be tough to figure that out.
That happens.
Yeah, and especially his star player, CeeDee Lamb. So this one's definitely a tougher matchup for him, and he kind of needs a win right now because he's 2-4. But MMC Grath also needs a win to like stay in the playoff hunt, you know? So really, this is a crucial week for a lot of teams. And starting off with 26 points on Thursday is a great start when you need a win. So this one, I do think MMC Grath is likely to win this one just based off the start. But I do think there's a chance. Like, I don't think it's completely out of the realm of possibility.
This estimate a couple times has estimated me winning like 67% and I lose. So I'm not real. When they predict I'm going to win, I'm not real confident.
Now, before we move on to the next match, I do just have to point out that Pawninq made a really funny waiver move this week, which I think is hilarious. It was in the original waivers, Pawninq dropped Jerry Jeudy and picked up Caleb Williams because he needed a QB to start. Or I think, is Caleb Williams on bye? So he picked up Caleb Williams, who's on bye already. But then I think the trade happened before the waiver process, but he didn't like change who he dropped. So I think he dropped Jerry Jeudy. Wasn't really thinking about it. But now, since Amari Cooper left Cleveland, he wanted to pick back up Jerry Jeudy. So he bid $10 on Jerry Jeudy, but no one else bid anything. So essentially, he just bid $10 to keep a player he already have. So yeah. I thought that was really funny.
That is pretty funny. I do.
But he is also getting Neighbors back this week, so he definitely has a chance. I wouldn't say he doesn't have a chance. I think this game could be a high-scoring, close game.
Well, it'll be fun to see what happens.
Definitely. Anything you want to say about that matchup before we move on?
No, I don't think so. I am hopeful that it'll be... I like it when they're close games. Each team, they win or lose by only a few points.
Yeah, definitely.
I don't know.
No, I agree. Next matchup
is TAC K-Money.
Yeah, TAC and K-Money. And this one is pretty close. I was surprised that K-Money was projected so low, but I think it is just his depth is not as great as kind of some of the other teams. So, for example, when Chris Olave gets hurt and Keenan Allen's on bye, he doesn't really have that last player. So now he's starting Bucky Irving and Travis Etienne, and Travis Etienne might not even play. So that's going to be interesting. But it is interesting to see the first place team as the underdog in this one.
Yeah.
I wouldn't expect that. But when you actually look at the roster, it kind of makes sense. Yeah, don't have too much to say, but I do think Troy's team looks really good. So, and who do you think is going to come out ahead in this one?
I would say Troy. I would guess Troy is. But it just looks like there's a lot of players right now in K-Money's team that are not scheduled to do real well. So
yeah.
Now they could, though, if they surprise us and get 26 points like happened on last night.
Yep. You could have a chance.
Yeah. And K-Money historically averages 120 plus points per game.
Exactly.
Troy is 104.98 points per game. So in the average. So we'll see.
Yeah, I think this game is going to be close, and
I think it'll be fun to watch.
Yeah, I think this one will be close. Hopefully not another 1 point difference, because those ones hurt the most.
Yeah. They do fun.
Yeah.
If you're like losing by so much, there's no way you're going to win. It's hard to keep up the energy to care.
That's true.
Through Monday. So, I still felt like last week that there was a possible chance that, because I've seen players on my previous teams get like 40 plus points, and anything can happen, but I knew it wasn't very likely.
Yeah, that's a great point. I think it's going to be super close, and I'm excited to see what happens. The next matchup is RickNolle versus RageagainstWeirdos,
which is predicted to be very close.
Yeah, this one's predicted to be the closest, I believe. And it's because RageagainstWeirdos had Alvin Kamara underperform, so that was not good, and that is kind of, a bad sign going forward. If he is not going to perform as well with they have Spencer Rattler as the QB, so that's not good. Rick is going to have to pay attention to Marvin Harrison as questionable, because he did get hurt and not play last game. So I would say he should definitely put him in his flex position, because he has Rachaad White on the bench.
Harrison, though, did have a full practice day today.
Yes, but just in case something happens, he should swap him with Tank Dell. And then if Harrison gets hurt, he can still have the chance to play Rachaad White if he wants to. I don't know if he'll see this, but that's up to him. I'm not. If he listens to the pod, I give advice to every team on this podcast, but I'm not gonna like go directly out the way and give him advice because I feel like that would be collusion. Anyone can listen to the podcast though. So, I think this matchup's gonna be close. What do you think? Who do you think is gonna win this one?
This is another challenge one. I'm a little confused as to why Rick has Shaheed still on the bench when they have IR, because he could pick someone else up.
Yeah, and he's out for the year, so he could just drop him too now.
Yeah.
He can't put him on IR anymore because he played Thursday, so you have to drop him.
To wait till next week.
Yeah.
Okay.
But he could drop him because he's not...
Can you drop already played for the week?
If they're on the bench, you can. So he could drop him. That said, I forgot to mention Bowers. Brock Bowers will likely get a bigger role because Davante Adams officially left. He did have a bigger role last week when Davante Adams was out. So I think that will continue, and he'll continue having a bigger role. Because we kind of saw last week, and the last 2 weeks, really, he had really good games. So I think Bowers is probably going to be a slam dunk and do really well this week and going forward. Yeah, I would just say that I probably think Rage Against Weirdos is still going to win just because I really like some of the matchups he has. So yeah, I'm not too worried about the close projection for him, but for Rick, I definitely am worried about some of the matchups. So
it's interesting that they have 4 wins and 2 losses. So
yeah, this one's a crucial game for the standings.
Mm-hmm.
This separates you from possibly being in contention to even make the playoffs versus contention for first place. So yeah, definitely a big game.
Well, that'll be exciting to follow.
Very exciting.
So the last one we have is with Brooke and Danbledore.
Yeah, and Dan he actually managed to pull off the upset versus you last week.
Yes.
So he's got some magic.
Too hard on him though.
He's got some magic going on. We'll see if he can continue that. It doesn't look like he's off to a great start, though, with Cortland Sutton getting 0 points, which I didn't even notice until just now. So, yeah, that's a terrible start, but what can you do?
Yeah, it is unfortunate. But we'll see what happens. I'm hopeful. For some reason, I like Brooke to win, but
well, I think she's your number one fan, so I think it would make sense where you can
I'm her
number one fan. Yeah, there you go. She said it, Brooke. I know you're listening. Yeah, she's your number one fan. All right.
Anyway,
so yeah, this is going to be a close game. Not too much to say. I like the matchups for Danbledore better, but Tua's not back, so Tyreek Hill probably won't get 14 points. So, yeah, I think Brooke is still going to win this one. Yeah, that's all the matchups, though. Anything else you want to say about this
just
league?
Note that on Brooke's, one of her flex positions, that McConkey is still questionable. And McConkey, it makes sense to leave McConkey there right now because they're playing on Monday. But he had pretty limited practice today. So
that's scary.
Interested to see what happens and who she could put in, because her tight end and quarterback on her bench are not people. And then she has a bye for running back, so it's got to be between Waddle and Myers.
Yeah, she'd probably have to drop Drake May, who she just picked up. So
and Myers is doubtful. So it really would be not a great choice here.
Yeah, definitely a tough decision. And speaking of that, she did make the commitment and drop Anthony Richardson for Drake May. So I thought that was a very interesting move. I don't necessarily think it's a bad move. I don't think she needs a second quarterback right now, though, because Baker Mayfield's been doing so well. So it is a decision to go with Drake May, but who knows? He could start doing really, really well. So I don't hate it.
In our league who have an extra tight end and an extra quarterback.
Yeah, I think it's just like the normal fantasy mindset where you don't want to worry about the bye week or something. But really, there's only 1 week, and we have so many limited bench spots that I just don't like having 2 QBs or 2 tight ends until I need it. Because you can always find someone on the waivers for that 1 week. So,
yeah, and it's sometimes it's just a crapshoot in terms of what you I don't know. I just think I just feel like I needed this year. I've needed more players from the bench play because of so many injuries, and I'm just noticing as we're going down through these teams how many people don't have anyone on their injured list or anyone out. It's amazing to me how unlucky I know I've been, and
I definitely I'm jealous of those teams that haven't had injuries. We'll say that.
Well, or in the last 2 matchups, none of those 4 have any injuries.
That's a good point. Yeah. Yeah.
I think everyone. So.
Yeah, pretty lucky. That said, though, I think we can call the episode here.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining me again. I appreciate it.
Again. And I hope that everyone does reasonably well this week, and that I win this week. That kind of says who can't do well. Anyway, and that was a shout out to you, Jim. And I will hope for a good end of the week, and I hope you have a good end of the week too. And I'll see you at the next time that I do this, which might be in 2 or 3 seasons.
No, I'm gonna try to get you on with Brooke, so we can have you both compliment each other's teams for 30 minutes.
Well, I'd have to say something negative because if I only say positive things.
Yeah, you can blame her for having 2 quarterbacks.
Yes.
There we go.
Okay.
All right. Well,
take care.
Thank you for listening, and have a good weekend, everyone. Hope no one's players get injured except my opponents. All right. Peace.